What's going on, everybody? In this episode of Chop and Brew, we're doing 3-minute brew review marathon in the form of a beer crawl across the Minnesota State Fair. I'm not sure what your state fair is like, but the Minnesota State Fair does not play around when it comes to what they call specialty sips. More than 60 exclusive beers, ciders, seltzers, and other. We tracked down about a half dozen beers on our wish list with very unique flavors, very eclectic colors, as it turns out. A few beer tasting beers and a few not so beer tasting beers, but all very fun. Join us for that. Real quick asterisk to this whole thing, or a preface. The audio is kind of jacked up. I don't know what was up with the GoPro, but just in the first minute, just as we're setting up beer number one. So if you can get through that first minute with us, it's all gravy after that. Also, big shout out to Imperial Yeast, without whose support none of Chop and Brew is possible, including the 3-minute beer review beer crawl across the Minnesota State Fair. So let's get to it. We're heading to the Minnesota State Fairgrounds. Get our beer on. Minnesota State Fair 2024. I'm here with Big Rob. Neighbor Rob. We're doing a little beer crawl through the State Fair. It's the Friday. It's Friday, right?
Sure is.
What is time? TGIF, Labor Day weekend Friday. We're beer number one from right over there, but it's loud in there, so we moved over here. The International Bazaar, the Summit on a Stick booth. This is Summit's fun, wacky entry into the new beers of 2024. It's called Purple Maze, all in my cup. It is a Mexican style lager. Got some info from head brewer Mike Lindell. It is raw pale, Weiermann Barca Pills, Weiermann Carafoam, and as you can imagine with a name like that, some blue corn grits in the mash, hopped with laurel and Saaz, about 5-ish%. I had this beer at the brewery before they colored it, when it was just an awesome tasting beer that had the slightest touch of a purpley blue, and they're like, that ain't gonna fly at the fair, y'all. So they got a low/no flavor beet extract to give it the color. So it really does taste like a beer. It doesn't taste like what you're thinking it's gonna when you see it. Like blueberries? No.
Super light, good crisp.
Crushable, light body. I get a little of that kind of corn flavor that you get. Granted, the blue corn probably has a different flavor than your classic maize. But no, this is it's fun to have a beer that looks kind of wacky, but still tastes good.
Tastes real good.
It's where if it was one of these many other beers out here that brewers pull out, like the blueberry slushy beer or the marshmallow cotton candy beer, it's we might have one or two of those today. Cheers. Summit's lager game's always strong. This is no different. Nice, crushable, light first beer of the day. On to number two. Before we move on to beer number two, I do real quick, I realized I didn't really say much about the taste of Purple Maze. Nice, doughy, grainy, kind of biscuity from that the pale and the use of that Barca Pills. The laurel hops, I think, gave it this citrusy kind of note, this little lemon peel. Kind of accentuate that, made it really crisp, soft, yummy. I don't know, that didn't really add a whole lot, but I did want to at least try to make some kind of intelligent note about that beer before we move on. All right, let's go. Beer number two, Rob's idea. Never heard of this. What is it, Rob?
It's a Honey Bear from Leinenkugel. It's the Honey Weiss and the Berry Weiss. Half and half.
And we're in share mode at this point to be responsible. So yeah, half Honey Weiss, half Berry Weiss.
All fun.
It is. I like it better than I like either of those two beers separately, which is kind of cool. And as we were walking over here, I was like, dude, it tastes like a rosé. Yeah. It's got kind of this a little acidic kind of hint, maybe probably from the Berry Weiss, I guess. But I don't know, it has a really clean, crisp rosé, ice chilled red wine, pink wine kind of vibe. It's cool.
Bordering on a spirit.
But still, yeah, like a cocktail of some sort, like a wine spritzer. But it's still got that carbonation, which is cool. So an unexpected surprise from the Liney's Lodge just over our shoulder. Compliments of Big Rob. We're about to go into the horticulture building and look at some cool stuff and figure out what beer number 3 is going to be. We're here at the State Fair looking at the world through violet colored lenses because beer number 3 came with a cool pair of glasses. I don't know if you can see them. They say Bent Brewstillery. That's our boy Chris England, aka Dr. Fat Propa. Bent Brewstillery. This is Purple Rain, as you could imagine. We're at the State Fair in Minnesota. Nice princely amount of hops, as they say. 100% Minnesota malt. A blend of kind of tropical-y hops is the way. Rob just saw a Philly fan in the wild, so he had to give a shout out. So we here have stepped up ABV. We're about 6.5%. We're finally into some IBUs after these fruity, more neutral malty beers. But it's purple and it's still giving me a hard time like processing it. Like if it's true you drink with your eyes first. All of these beers have been kind of like scrambling my computer a little bit. But what do you think of this one, Big Rob?
It's nice, it's smooth, lightweight for an IPA, for sure.
Rob pointed out not extremely bitter. A lot of the cold IPAs aren't sometimes. They're backloaded with hops. I'm getting a lot of like citrusy, maybe a little mango, a little pine, which is nice. It's the first thing we've drank where you don't want to just keep like chugging and chugging and chugging. You want the palate to enjoy that hoppy tingle, all those different flavors and aromas. So this is at Dino's Gyros up by Food Mile. We're going to Mancini's next to get those porchetta wings. So yeah, Chris England, thanks for stepping it up, getting us out of Malt and Fruitville, but keeping us in purple territory. I started looking at our list. I was like, I think maybe only one of our beers might be yellow or gold today, now that I started looking at the ingredients. It wasn't the intention, but purple for purple, cold for IPA. We're knocking them out. 2 minutes ain't no thing. We're gonna see what Big Rob looks like. Oh man, you wear those a lot better. Going to the rave, going to the rave, going to the rave. We're on the move. We just had the best food at the fair, I think, porchetta wings at Mancini's. If you ever get here, you must do that. That's every year. That's not one of those gimmicky things. But we did get a gimmicky thing while we were there, not even on our list. This is the grilled pineapple lager from Indeed. Kind of just popped up out of nowhere. Rob tapped out on this beer, by the way. What was it, Rob? Why not, Rob?
The flavor was off. Couldn't feel it.
Too smoky?
Wasn't feeling it, too smoky.
So when I hear grilled pineapple lager, I'm thinking it's a lager, and then they threw some pineapples on a smoker, on a grill, put it in on Indeed scale. That's probably not efficient. So I'm betting money this is a smoked malt, adding that kind of grill character, some kind of pineapple flavoring, either puree or high quality extract. I like it a lot, actually, though. So, you know, we did fruit, hops, then we came back to fruit. It tastes like char grilled pineapple rings. It is a little sweet too. Yeah. I don't know if that's another thing. If you were like, I'm not digging smoke.
It had the sweet, but the finish was
okay.
Ruined it.
Man, well, indeed, one thumbs up or 2 out of 4 or 1 out of 2, whatever. I like it, and it was surprisingly good with the porchetta wings, which also have kind of a smoky, definitely a deep roast flavor on top of all those other spices. So we're about to go up in the grandstand, find some trouble up in the grandstand. What beer is this? Like beer number 5? All right, what we think is beer number 5. The Golden Spike Ale, or just the Golden Spike from the Frontier Bar. It's got an old Western kind of vibe, so I think the Gold Spike is probably a reference to some gold rush days or
Best of the West.
Some tomfoolery that happened at a saloon once upon a time. This is from Bridge Brewing, our boy Jeremy King. Y'all know Jeremy King. He now works there in charge of brewing, and he told me this is a golden ale, prickly pear puree, and then flavored with a non-alcoholic mezcal extract. Thanks to the state of Minnesota, you can't actually put real mezcal in it. Wah, wah. So this is an NA mezcal. Right off the bat, Rob and I were both like, this has like a sour candy kind of note, almost like Warheads or like gummy worm aroma. But then that doesn't follow through, and I think that's maybe the prickly pear.
Yeah.
Then the sip, you get a little bit more of that like smoky. Do you like this smoky influence more than the smoke of the pineapple? Okay.
Much better. Yeah, much better.
Is it because it's a lower amount or a
palatable.
different?
It's more palatable. It's to a lesser degree. It feels. That other one just punches you in the face.
Yeah, this is super fun and almost kind of gets like a quarter kettle soured, I think, because prickly pear is a pretty tart fruit in general. So yeah, this was better than I thought it was going to be, but I was going to drink it either way because of old Jeremy King, and I love mezcal in general. So another fun, kind of quirky entry in the new beers of State Fair 2024. All right, we're at Lulu's Public House, beverage number 6, black currant mead from Sociable Cider Werks. Rob says this might be
Best of the day.
best of the day, man. It is like super, the description is it fermented dry and crisp, and then they back sweeten it with black currant juice. If you know anything about mead in Minnesota, you know that we are obsessed with our black currants and black currant juice up here. So that's kind of fitting. Once again, we're back into purple territory.
Yeah, can't get away.
But that black currant is so bold. Red wine, dark berry.
The flavor profile is incredible. It's
Yeah.
so good.
And we were talking about a couple of these like beers that are a little more gimmicky finish, real sweet on the palate. Kind of make you like, all right, I can sit on this sip for a little bit. But this finishes real dry with that tart berry, and it makes you want to come back pretty quick to it. So
Good pronunciation.
that's good stuff. Sociable Cider Werks, don't sleep on that. I'm not sure if it's a mead cider combo or 100% mead, but whatever it is, it's good. And then we got a beer down here chilling in the shade so it doesn't get light struck. We're talking about an almost 8% Imperial Logger from Schell's. Woo, coming at you next. We're on beer number question mark. This is theoretically the last one, at least the last one on my list. We got Dono.
Surprise.
Out in the wild. Rob's still here. This is Schell's Imperial Logger. We hit up Dave Berg at the brewery today for some info. 80% North Star Pills, and then the rest of it is a combo of Bonelander Munich and Weirmann Light Munich. Huel Melon to 32 IBUs. More importantly, 7.8% ABV. So that's why it's kind of the dessert beer. He said that grist is very similar to their Maibach that they put out, but clearly bumped up way more in gravity. It has malt liquor vibes. It definitely has like Imperial Maibach vibes.
No, I agree. It's you can tell it's got good bitterness, good strength, and also with like a little bit of that Munich in there. It's not dry. It's got a little residual malt sweetness.
It does remind me of like my favorite kinds of Maibach, which are a little sweet in the finish, so they kind of linger with them for a minute. Honey graham, honey cracker, kind of like this honey malted note. What do you think, Rob?
I concur.
Inside joke, it's taken us like 3 of these to get to this because we keep drinking it so fast.
Those two, not me.
So I would say that means it's surprisingly drinkable at 7.8% on a hot ass summer day.
There is a little bit of bitterness though. There is. I mean, you said 30 something. I would. It drinks maybe stronger than that, but like I said, the sweetness. You know, you don't mind it. It's balanced enough, and it's big.
It's almost like a blonde Doppelbock. It's got that oomph, that bready richness and denseness. Should be drinking it probably a little slower, but since we've been splitting it, I don't want it to get too warm.
Imperial Lager, yeah, almost kind of like Imperial Pilsner, but with a little more, like you say, Maibach character.
Less bitter, more of that kind of like almost desserty vibe.
Yeah, not really a summer crusher.
But it is.
But it is.
If you find a shady patch.
Yeah.
So this might be the last beer, it might not be. If it is, thanks for joining us. Big Rob, thanks for coming. This is the Midway Posse State Fair Beer Crawl Reviews, man. This is super fun.
All right, yo.
All right, chopper chop.
Hey, brew.
Malt, look at the fail.